Hello and welcome to another Torpid cast, today featuring Jones playing as the Lictor Alpha. We've got YZ playing as the Mech Boy. I am keen to watch a little bit of action here between the Orcs and the Tyranids. Not a matchup you get to see too often, and to be honest, I'm just grateful right now that I've actually got a replay that doesn't feature Space Marines. I know you guys love the Space Marines, everyone loves the Space Marines, that's why half the games that get played in this entire mod feature Space Marines. I just got a little bit bored of them. I was casting Space Marine replays constantly, and then I had a look at my YouTube channel, and obviously with the thumbnails you can see which heroes there are really quickly, and I'm like, damn, that's a lot of Space Marines. So I'm going to try and cast Space Marines a little bit less frequently, hopefully only once a week. You know, we do have 7 races, I'm not including Order Malleus or Space Marines in that. But yeah, let's see how this one goes. So Orcs versus Tyranids, pretty crazy matchup actually, because Orcs have the highest damage per squad, and Tyranids have the highest damage per pop in the game. And I think Orcs in general could be considered the highest damage, even though a squad of Termagants will out DPS default shooters, and a squad of Hormagaunts will out DPS sluggers. The thing is, you get upgrades and then the boys start out DPSing the Gaunts, and the Gaunts support units, the Raveners, do less DPS than shooters, and the Warriors are about tankiness and knockback, not about DPS. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, Orcs are the guys with the damage, but Tyranids are not far behind. Tyranids have a bit more speed. So it becomes a very brutal matchup, this one. Like right now, these Hormagaunts are in a pretty scary position. I mean, it obviously wasn't great for them to commit, ending up fighting 3 units all at once. Of course, once they've suffered a bit of pew-pew from the shooters and the Mech Boy, they're definitely not going to be able to take on the sluggers. They don't want to be doing that anyway. So this Lictor here, he's not used Flesh Hook, he probably should get another model. That model's going to die very fast there. Unlucky that the sluggers didn't attack it, but a bit strange from Jones there. I don't really know what he was doing. I think once the other Termagant had to retreat, it would have been a play just to Flesh Hook one of the weakened models and then just retreat straight out of there. I don't really think even with the Feeder Tendrils there was any chance really to get a wipe going there. That was strange play. Very optimistic. Nevertheless, Jones is going for something a little bit unorthodox here, only going for 1 Gaunt. You don't see that too often, but it does mean that he gets the gens up fast, and that's why he ended up going for the Feeder Tendrils. Super early at least. And it also means, of course, he gets his Raveners out pretty soon, but the downside is, lacking that extra Termagant meant there was nothing to force off that other Slugger Boy squad, and he burnt down the 2 gens. So this puts Jones in a really bad spot. He didn't get much out of the triple gens early on. He's going to have to replace them. It felt like a big waste of 200 requisition, really. Now he's going to lose that 3rd gen. That's not too bad, because at least, you know, he killed a Slugger, he stopped these guys from capping the map. They didn't actually cap this rec point, so he had that the whole time. Lost 100 rec, killed a Slugger, so he's down like 67 or so requisition. What? That's terrible maths. 63 requisition. It's not even that, it's 73. Oh my goodness. He's also down a little bit of power. And yeah, he's just going to replace them 2 now. He also repurchased the Lictor Alpha rather than going for the, I don't know, Warrior Squad or Ravener Squad. Probably would assume that he's going to get another 2 squads, to be honest. It's quite rare that a Tyranid will not go 5 units in Tier 1. Tyranids are renowned for their Tier 1, and I think particularly in this matchup, the Gaunts do really well, because even when the enemies get the boys get their burners and the shooters get their big shooters, they don't scale tremendously in comparison to the Hormagaunt upgrades and the Termagant upgrades. They're still very cost effective, especially when these guys get both their upgrade and Synapse. However, in Tier 2, when these guys get the Slugger Knob, the Slugger Boys will just absolutely slaughter basically everything in the Tier 1 roster for the Tyranids. So, you want to try and press your advantage as a Tyranid in Tier 1 as much as possible, because you know that Tier 2 is going to be tricky. Dealing with Weird Boys, dealing with the Sluggers with their buffs. I mean, this is part of the reason you see the double Sluggers here for the Orcs. It's a play for the mid-game, not necessarily the early game, where the Sluggers actually can be pretty damn vulnerable to a lot of things in Tier 1. vulnerable to focus fire from Termagants Raveners, both of which have higher natural move speed. Then you've got the knockback from the Raveners, the knockback from the Warriors, potential suppression with Barb Strangler. It's just a nightmare. Crippling Poison. Really tough for the Fragile Sluggers in Tier 1, but trust me, they become pretty brutal in Tier 2. But let's see how things go. The Flesh Up was used here, so the Mech Boy is actually not under too much threat. Of course, the Looters opening up there and suppressing the Raveners prevents them from being able to finish off the Mech Boy there, and it is going to be double Raveners, but this is looking like a really rough game for Jones. I'm talking about how Tyranids have the advantage in Tier 1. They want to be putting the pressure on, etc, etc, but at the moment, Jones is the one who is falling behind. VPs are only even, but Jones's economy is quite far behind. Of course, YZ right now has 4 units. Jones is about to get his 4th one out, but check out the resources. Let's have a look at them. 200 requisition for Jones to the 600 of YZ. YZ is in a great spot right now, because Jones is going to have to dump some of that requisition onto his power farm as well. Not ideal. Raveners should probably turn around and melee these Slugger Boys. If they can hit this guy, he's about to die. No, it doesn't look like we're going to bother. Not a big deal, but you know, Jones needs everything he can get right now, really. So I think he should be fishing for literally every model that he can. Crazy float on YZ. Wonder what we'll get in Tier 2. You do have a few options in Tier 2 here. I think a Death Dread can be quite useful, but generally you only go for the Death Dread if you already have Storm Boys, because then the Storm Boys can just jump onto the Venom Brood, use their power melee, try and proc some Synapse Backlash, and then of course, with the Venom Brood tied up by the Storm Boys, the Death Dread can just run around and do crazy things to Termagants with its burners and its special attacks. But other than that, you know, buying Tier 2 Storm Boys, oh nice Flesh Up there, gonna wipe out the Mech Boy. That's a good play, that was something. I don't think he bled anything too serious. You just gotta try and not lose your Ravener models here. But other than that Death Dread in Tier 2, you'd be looking at Tier 2 Storm Boys, which are actually quite a requisition heavy investment compared to your power expenditure, and also your Weird Boy, which again, very heavy on requisition and not power. So my point of all this is that why is he floating this amount of requisition? Not a huge deal. He could try Stick Bombers as well. Honestly, wouldn't recommend it, especially when there's only 2 Gaunts. It's probably not worth it. And I really don't think this Feeder Tendrils has paid off, to be honest. It doesn't feel like the Lictor Alpha's got much work done, and soon, now that Tier 2 is here for YZ, he's going to have the Slugger Knobs coming out, and that is going to make the Feeder Tendril Lictor even less effective. Now, talking about effective, you see how effective the dual Raveners and the Termagants are, though, here, kiting and dealing with the Sluggers. Of course, this is what the Looter is for as well. And they'll be a lot less effective again once the Slugger Knob arrives, because, of course, the Slugger Knob, when you use Swamp him, you get a massive amount of range damage resistance. I forget which. Is it 40%? Is it 50%? It's a lot. Wow, they're going to wipe the Looters. They just need to stop forcing melee and just shoot. Oh, Homagot's in retreat path as well. Just shoot. Yeah, there you go. Wipes the Looters. Okay, well, everything is in retreat, basically. These Sluggers down here are now capping because the Homagot's got onto that, and that is going to give Jones the potential for a bit of a gem bash. It does feel a little bit late. We've already got 2 Slugger Knobs coming out, and the Death Dread, so that is an investment of 25, 25, 50, plus the 65, 115 power that YZ has just dumped. So imagine if he took out this gem farm a little bit earlier, but unfortunately he couldn't. Better to take it out now though than never. Let's have a look at what YZ's got in reserve. He's got 50 power in reserve, so might want to get like the battery pack to support his Slugger Boys. That's fairly cheap, but even just the Weird Boy would be 40 power, so he's going to run out of power soon after that, so he needs to really replace these gens, I would say. Maybe get 2 gens right now, get the battery pack. I think that would be quite smart. It is interesting actually, when we look at the roster for Jones here, there are actually no Warriors. There will be Venom Brood coming out soon, but for all of Tier 1 he had no detection. So potentially Mines could have been a bit of a good play actually, with coming across double Raveners and no Warriors. And it's also peculiar to not go for Warriors as the Lictor Alpha, because it means you're running no Synapse. Synapse can make these guys exponentially better. We'll see. I mean, he's got the Venom Brood now. He's going to get ranged Synapse. And it makes sense to get that even not really considering the anti-vehicle, which it turns out will be useful because there is a Death Dread. But this is now giving the basic synapse to the Raveners, as well as the ranged synapse. So this pop's going to be both outputting a lot more DPS, and also a lot more durable. So these, well, the single Shooter Boy squad is going to have quite a tough time here, I would imagine. Ripper Swarms coming out now from the towers, I like that. Though, honestly, it's kind of only going to be useful against these shooters. It can snare the Death Dread a little bit, but the Death Dread, obviously, with Splash and Burners, will kill Rippers very fast. And you do feed your opponent more XP and red by using these Rippers. Orcs are a very red-hungry faction. The fact that all their infantry have that War ability, which costs red. So we'll see. We've got a Weird Boy coming out now. You kind of want the Weird Boy and you kind of want Storm Boys. As I was saying earlier, I don't like to go the Death Dread if I haven't got Storm Boys. But as it stands right now, I was just going to say the Venom-Brood are just walking into Sluggers. I think the Sluggers could have stayed in play a little longer there. Now just imagine if instead of Electric Armor he had Battery Pack. Those Sluggers could have stayed in there for quite some time, chopping up that Venom-Brood. Then of course the Death Dread could engage and tie up the Raveners, and then you just heal the Sluggers with the Battery Pack. I think honestly the Death Dread and the Sluggers and Mech Boy could have won that fight if he had Battery Pack, but he doesn't. Went for that Electric Armor. I find that really weird. There's only 2 squads of Gaunts, and now the Termagants have ranged Synapse, so they're getting that 25% extra HP. Plus, you know, we're talking levels are coming out now, so this Electric Armor is going to be a lot less effective than it would be if he was in Tier 1. Very strange to get that War Gear late. The Battery Pack scales beautifully, but this thing really doesn't scale at all. So Elixir Alpha's trying his best here, going to be capping the top. You can notice that he's got some extra upgrades now. He's got the Toxic Cysts, max HP increase. It gives him an ability that does damage over time, and also gives him 150 HP heal over 10 seconds. Basically, when he's got this ability, and certainly when he's also got Lone Hunter, which gives him 40% more damage and 25% less damage taken, this Elixir Alpha is going to be able to solo even a fully upgraded Slugger Boy squad with ease, basically. That is going to be helpful for Jones with the map control. Unfortunately for him though, his army can't really do anything against YZs right now. Now there's a Weird Boy too. Honestly, he doesn't even need the Weird Boy. Should probably be using Warpath with the Weird Boy. I assume he doesn't have it since I can't see an upgrade here. You do have to get an upgrade for that ability, but just for the mobility, the fact it buffs the speed of all nearby infantry, it's definitely worth it. Amazing, amazing ability, that one. Oh, that's a beautiful zap. Yeah, Weird Boy is just brutal. Zap just killed 3 of the Termagants there. Now, the Zap will not bounce to a unit that it's already bounced to, but it will just keep bouncing infinitely if there are new units around. There we go, against some Electric Armor usage. Now the Death Dread can close in on the Venom-Brood, tied up by the Mech Boy. Ooh, overcommitment there though. Lost a Slugger Boy squad, kind of unnecessarily. And of course that means with the Mech Boy retreating, that nothing is tying up the Venom-Brood. So the Death Dread, I was gonna say it might go down, but apparently not. Apparently not. A lot of missed micros here. Could have actually attacked the Termagants there rather than the Raveners, which probably would have wiped them. But he misplayed that. Meanwhile, the Lictor has just been running around capping the map. Trying to stay in this game in terms of VPs. Honestly, it's kind of felt like YZ has been dominating in the map control, but when you look at the VP, it's very, very even. Death Dread at 79 HP. Yeah, honestly, the Lictor can kill him right now. Obviously, he doesn't have a heavy melee weapon. This is only power melee, but power melee does 15% DPS. And, you know, 63 DPS times 0.15. What did the Death Dread have? Like 70 HP? You're still talking about like 3 or 4 seconds to kill the Death Dread or something. Okay, maybe... Well, actually, that's not true, because there is also a melee resist on the Death Dread to reduce it by 40%. And that's why now that it's getting repairs, things are a little bit iffy. Yeah, I don't think he can kill it, but he's stalling right now, I think. It's a bait. Nice retreat, literally would have died in one more hit. He was just stalling to bait the Death Dread to try and overcommit to this fight and then get the Venom Brood in for the kill. He should be able to hit it from here, I think. He's in range. They're wasting their shots against the mech boy instead. Now I feel like Jones is overcommitting for the Death Dread. He does get it, he does get it. He got the Death Dread in the base. Why is he going to tier 3? He lost his shooter boys somewhere. Where did he lose them? I don't know. Was this them here? Surely not. I don't know. He lost his shooter boys somewhere. Why is he flowing an insane amount of requisition? Going tier 3. Going tier 3 with no power. Not ideal. Really feel like the Termagants right now could just go cap that VP. I don't feel like they're contributing much here. The Venom Brood and the Raveners are going to destroy this super quick anyway. And Jones needs to be focusing on the VPs, I would imagine. Tying up the Weird Boy with Rippers and he procs his special. Classic. Classic stuff. So. Another beautiful zap though. Jones is really being lazy about these zaps. Come on, you could easily split your Raveners here, your Termagants there, and stop the zap spreading like this. You don't need to take it on all 4 of your units. Ripper's now running into base with the Weird Boy. I like the idea of spawning the Rippers to tie up the Weird Boy, stop those powerful long-range AoE attacks, but running them into base is lazy again, because you just... I mean... You could have just used them in the next fight. You're just feeding your opponent red and XP. What is the tier 3 play? Commandos, really? I mean, it's all he can get, I suppose, when he's lacking power. Definitely needs to replace this power at some point. I mean, he's got such a crazy amount of requisition that shouldn't really be a problem. We'll see. Honestly, Commandos right now probably can just melee the Raveners. They're not gonna though. They go. Oh, okay. Here's the play. We've got the burner grenade into the Loved Daka into the rocks. And you know what? It was a beautiful play. I really respect it. That was quite something. But somehow the Tyrannid escapes with no unit wipes. How? How did he not lose a Termagant? Honestly, how did he not lose the Raveners? Raveners get out with, like, they must have had about 16 HP when they started that retreat. Termagant's getting out with 1 model. I mean, it's still a lot of bleed onto Jones here. A lot of models were killed. But wow, how did he escape without losing a full unit? I don't know. Why is he still has an absolute metric shit ton of requisition? Why is he not dropping more gens? I mean, I understand not doing it when the enemy was in your face, but you know you just forced off most of his army with that nuke combo. Drops 1 gen, could definitely be dropping more. And what is the next purchase going to be? More Commandos, probably? Knobs? Knobs feel like they'd be quite good here, actually. It's a lot of piercing DPS, you know, Raveners, Termagants. These guys can't get the Death Spitters to do Inferno damage because they've already committed to the range synapse. Omagants definitely don't want to fight Knobs. And now you've just seen Warriors too. So yeah, I actually think Knobs right now would be amazing. Again, I wish YZ had the battery pack though and not the electric armor. In fact, right now he could be going for the Mega Rumbler to constantly destroy the gen farm every single activation. And you could go for the custom force field plus the Mega Rumbler. He is level 5, so he'd have the energy to use the custom force field, teleport in, and then use the Mega Rumbler, which can basically stun entire armies. It's really quite insane. It doesn't do friendly stun for some reason, which not a lot of people even realise, because you see the war gear so rarely, but it's crazy strong. Anyway, Jones has got tier 3 now himself and just called in without number, so wow. He is outnumbering the Orc tremendously here. And that's not where Orcs like to be, you know? The Orcs are meant to be outnumbering you. Not getting outnumbered this badly. I guess honestly Jones at this point just stays up for a Swarm Lord. I suppose... Oh wow. Massive mess up there by YZ, letting his sluggers fail. I was going to say YZ probably wants to get a looted tank, but I'm forgetting he's lacking the power. Oh, he did actually have the power there for the looted tank. I mean, why is he just floating this much requisition? I don't know why he's floating that much. Honestly, you could have got stick bombers as well. I know they're not the best, but it's something. When you've got this much requisition, they're only like 20 power. You just bombard these Raveners, the Venom Brood. You know, they're something. They're another melee squad as well. They're not useless in melee. They can't focus fire everything, but yeah, just too much float from YZ. I mean, it was a bit of a sloppy game from both sides. A lot of silly mistakes, but taking tier 3 and losing the game, even though you got tier 3 first, it's fairly common. Did like the play with a Love the Daka into the nuke. Really unlucky, to be honest, that he didn't wipe any squads. Perhaps if he did wipe a few squads, then he could have had more VPs in this situation, got out a looted tank, and might have actually been alright. But other thing, I mean, this electric armor, honestly, it didn't do anything. And I feel like there were a couple of engagements where if he had battery pack, it would have just completely swung the engagement in his favour. But what can you do? From Jones's side, using the Lictor Alpha very... God, I had a coughing fit. I'm still not over my my throat infection. Sorry, guys. Just using the Lictor Alpha very solo. I don't mind it. I do question his initial opening play though, to rush the feeder tendrils. I understand he went for a Termagant Homagon opening, not double Termagants. Hence he got more gens up. Which in turn meant that he could rush the feeder tendrils. What I would have done is I would have split my gen farm from here with here, rather than getting all 3 gens here and then he seeded them all. I'd have got 2 here and 1 here, and then when I seen that this farm was getting lost, I'd have built another one over here. But whatever, doesn't really matter. That is the game, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Torpid is now dying, so Torpid better get out. See you later.